Hello YouTube, Janel here. Today we're talking about RCs on RAM. We're going to go over what are RCs, how to do good RCs, and how to avoid doing bad RCs. This is going to become a pretty practical use video on how to do RCs. We're not going to do anything too complex. We're not going to do anything too simple. It's going to be right in the middle. I just want to get you guys in and get you guys started using RCs. So what are RCs? RCs are short for roaming cancel. There's nothing self-explanatory about that. I'm pretty sure some lore reason. But basically, when you press 3 face buttons that are not dust or D, your character performs a specific action. So here, I'm going to press dust. Here, I'm going to press PKS. Your character does this move or this action that creates a bubble around them. And depending on what move you're doing on the screen, there's a different color bubble, and each one has a different property to it. As you can see here, that one's red, blue, and purple. There's a fourth one, but we'll kind of go over that later. They cost 50 meter. As you can see at the bottom left, my meter slowly drains. We could let them cost less meter, but we'll kind of go over how to do that later. But you need at least 50 to 100 meter to do an RC. Alright, so the first one we'll be going over is the defensive RC. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't already, there's macros in the game. So there's a faultless defense macro, there's a dash macro, and there's a roaming cancel macro. I'd go ahead and assign roaming cancel and dash macro. It makes everyone's life easier. You don't have to double press forward or back for dash, and you don't have to press 3 buttons for roaming cancel. I know some people like pressing the 3 buttons for roaming cancel. I personally do not. I will always just press the RC button, as you can see at the bottom left. So let's kind of get started. What's the first RC? Well, this is the defensive RC. As you can see here, there's just a yellow burst, and your character is like, whoa, what's going on? This leaves them in a guard trust state, and you're plus 10. So you could act first, right? Oopsie. You could act first. As you can see, I have him do that, and he gets YRC'd out. You know, it works for all moves, so I'll record him doing that. You see, you can YRC him off. This leaves you at an advantage, right? Because you're plus 10 here. So when I press it, I could go ahead and like attack him afterwards, and he can't really do too much about it. It's really good when you're just like in a situation where you're just like, I need to get out, right? Let's say you're in the corner, you're getting really pressured, right? You're just like, oh, I need to get out. Or you could, you know, like launch a counterattack against it, or you could just jump back. Even in mid-screen, it's pretty good. You know, you're just like, I don't know what to do here. Let me backdash out, right? Let me go ahead and like, you know, air dash back out or something. So it's just really good. Just a warning, it could get baited, right? But like, this is a really good defensive option, especially for Ram, since she doesn't have much defensive options in general. She has Morbato, but like, you know, it's pretty, like this one is just kind of like a, oh, get off of me tool. So it's nice to have, especially on Ram. You know, he gets off, you get your turn back. Again, is it Jacko and Zato? I was gonna say Zako. Again, Jacko and Zato, it kills their minions, so basically, like, they lose their resource, which is super good for you, right? It could get baited, though, but especially at the lower, mid-level, and even sometimes at the higher floors, you kind of have to structure your offense to bait YRC. So, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just a really good defensive option if you just want to get out of a situation or you don't know how to get out of a situation. Definitely use YRC. It's really good. But, yeah, you know, just use it. It's really nice to have. So that's the first RC we're going to talk about. We're not going to be going over bait points right now with RCs, especially like red RC, even YRC, how to bait them and stuff, but we'll go over that in a later video, so you don't have to worry about that right now. Just know that YRC is a pretty good defensive option. He puts them in guard crush, so like, and then you are plus 10, so you are at an advantage, so just remember that. The next one we're going to be talking about is the most complicated one to use. It is called blue RC. As you see, it causes like a blue circle to appear, and if you see above the character, there's going to be a little clock. This signifies that they're slowed down. So I'm gonna have Happy Chaos. Oopsie. I'm gonna have Happy Chaos just. Oopsie. Let me go back to slot 5. I'm gonna have Happy Chaos just press this button, right? Okay. I don't have any meter. We're going to see, he whiffs the button and I'm able to get in. This is a pretty good use for blue RC. Again, blue RC is one of the most complicated RCs to use. So we're going to be going over a couple situations you can use BRC in. But as you can see here, you know, you can kind of slow the other character down when they're whiffing moves. Let's have him just press this. There you go. As you see, he whiffs the move there. Boom, I get to go in. It's really good if you know that the other character is going to whiff like a really long recovery move, and you're like, oh, I could BRC that and then punish it afterwards. And then this kind of gives us to the new mechanic that I want to introduce. It's called Drift RC. So, as you can see, if I double tap a direction or press dash plus RC, so if you dash and press a direction, either using dash macro or double tap, you will do this after image, and your character will kind of dash towards that direction slowly. It can be done in all 4 directions. Here's an up one, here's a down one, and here's a forward one. So like, how is this useful, right? It's useful for all the RCs. Every RC but YRC could use this drift. But like, let's say I have him do this, right? And I'm just like, ooh, I could punish, like, I see he's going to whiff the move, but, he's doing it far. I could now punish this because I've drifted in. It makes it a little more consistent to use. I'd use a lot of drift RCs. We're going to be using it a lot with red RC a lot. So just know you could have this. It's pretty hard to do. But once you get used to it, it becomes really useful. So it's nice to have. I'd recommend learning it if you can. But yeah, so BRCs could be used for whiff punishing pretty well. So now we're going to, simulate a round start, right? We simulate a round start because after wall break, sometimes you're like, oh, I just want to get in, right? You could kind of BRC in. It slows them down, so it kind of makes, the round start a little scarier for them. Oopsie. It makes the round start a little scarier for them. And also, let's say, I set them for after position reset, and I set them to backdash. You can kind of punish some defensive options using BRC because it slows them down. So you see here, I was able to run after his BRC and punish it. Right there, I was able to punish his backdash. It's super good for that. I really recommend it. I'd really recommend it. And also, just in general, like, some people, like, this isn't as consistent, so I'd kind of be careful how you use this. But some people will, like, use an attack, round start. And, like, sometimes you could phase through it and grab them. It's not really a phase through, you're kind of just slowing the attack down, so you could kind of get in there and grab them. So, those are kind of, like, pretty simple ways to use BRC. Again, it is a pretty hard mechanic to use correctly. Even at, like, the highest of levels, people are not using BRC as correctly. I have a pretty technical way to use BRC in one of my videos. It's called the BRC overhead. But, as you're beginning, those are pretty simple ways to use BRC. And in general, I'm going to kind of go over how you make RCs cost less now. So as you can see, there's like a timer over his head. Well, I could actually cancel out of the BRC with a move. And as you can see at the bottom left, I didn't use all 50% meter. So I just wanted to let everyone know that you can cancel out of RC to save meter. And we're going to kind of see how that is kind of helpful later. But that's still a pretty advanced mechanic. So let's kind of get started on the next RC. Next RC we're going to use is purple RC. This lets you cancel the end animation or the animation of a move completely if you whiff it. So let's say I whiff a move, and I want to cancel out of it. It helps you cancel out of it for everything, even grabs, right? You press grab, you could PRC out the grab. And we're gonna kind of explain how this is useful later. But right now I'm gonna have Happy Chaos. I'm gonna record him doing this. Right? So let's say I'm Ram, right, and I'm pressing this button. It's a pretty slow button, right? You're like, oh, this is so slow. If Happy Chaos jumps while I'm doing this, he's going to punish me, as I'm going to kind of explain right now. Boom, he got the punish on me, right? Let's say I press this move, and I see Happy Chaos is jumping, and I have meter, right? So I press this. I could PRC out of it, and I get a punish for him trying to punish me doing that. So that's kind of where, like, the mind games come in this situation. So, let me try. See, let's try it again. As you can see, you could react to that and punish him for trying to hit you. So this is pretty good in any move. You're throwing out big moves and you see that it's not going to hit or they're going to punish you for doing it. Especially let's say you try doing this one, right? This one has a lot of end lag to it. You get punished if you do it. So it's pretty good as like, oh, I messed up. what do I do now? And just in general, like I'm going to have Happy Chaos jump after recovery, you know, because a lot of people, you know, you'll maybe try grabbing them as soon as they. So I'm gonna have them jump, right? So after recovery, I'm gonna have them jump, and let's say I want to grab right away, right? Let's say I whiff my grab. Well, I could use PRC. It's called PRCOS. Basically, if you grab and hit PRC, if you whiff the grab, you know, you will PRC, and then you could punish them for jumping. You know, let's say I hit him here. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump, or let's say I have him in the corner, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grab him on wake up. You know, and then I jump, and then I could grab him since he jumped. So it's a nice thing to have in general. And then the next way you could use it as like an anti-zoning tool. This is kind of like how I use it. Oopsie. This is how I use it a lot. So against like Happy Chaos and Axel or any fireball user, right? And if someone's just spamming fireballs, you cross the screen, and it's really hard for you to get in because you're gonna have to dash block in or whatever. I like doing, you know, I like doing this. So you do sword throw, and then you do PRC. The faster you do it, you know, the better it is. You know, it's pretty good because it kind of gives you, since the way it works is, since you're using sword throw, you're canceling the end lag of the sword throw. So you're not canceling the sword throw itself. The sword is still coming out, so when you cancel the move, the sword's still flying, and it gives your character able to action. You know, you're able to run after the sword or anything like that. It's pretty good against zoning and fireball characters, so I really recommend using it. Obviously, I didn't record Happy Chaos doing like pixel perfect zoning, but you know, whenever he goes to reload, you have time to do sword throw PRC. It is tight, but it's pretty good. And against Axel, it works pretty well too. And against like Kai or Leo throwing fireballs across the screen, it works pretty well. So it's pretty good to have. And in general, it's kind of like a skip neutral tool, right? So let me have Happy Chaos block, right? And you're just like, oh, I don't know how to get in. I'm over here. What do I do? I could just use this to skip neutral, right? And then maybe I want to do like a, you know, the drift RC, right? I'm able to get in. I'm able to use the sword as like a shield to get in, because if they're not blocking or if they're trying to counterattack with the swords coming at them, they're gonna get hit by the sword, and I get a combo. So then it gives me time to, like, you know, I get time to counterattack, and now I'm in offensive pressure. So yeah, it's pretty good in that case. Those are kind of the cases I would use PRC in. You know, you could even use it in the corner, right? After someone blocks, I'm going to have Happy Chaos do 6p. Because if you play Ram, you know you probably get 6p out of sword toss all the time. Right there. You could use that. You could use PRC to make this safe, right? You do that, they try counterattacking you, you're blocking, so then the sword comes out and it hits them. So just in general, it's really good to have sword throw PRC. You know, you could do stuff like this where, like, you know, you want to skip neutral again, right? And you do... Let's have them do nothing. Let's say you want to skip neutral again, right? You're just like... You could throw both swords at once. So let's do that here, just so you guys can see it. You could throw both swords at once. And you don't even need to just skip neutral with this sword. You could, if you think they're going to jump or something, you could do up sword and run in, right? It's pretty good to have. The faster you do it, the better, you know? So you could just kind of get in with the sword. So that's kind of how you use PRC. What's bad ways to use PRC is just kind of relying on it to whiff moves. You don't want to use it a lot. It's 50 meter. 50 meter is a lot of meter. You could win and lose the game off 50 meter. So just like whiffing moves, because you know you have the ability to PRC out of them, is kind of bad. I would kind of just do them in like pretty critical situations, you know? Like having throw PRC is super strong, so you always want to have meter for throw PRC. As like, you know, if you whiff throw, you could die because of it. So having the meter for that. But just in general, I would not just try whiffing moves because you have PRC. I would kind of use it smartly. Like, oh, he's going to punish me, right? I need a PRC. So that's kind of ways how you use PRC. The next one we're going to talk about is Red RC. Red RC is the one that is mostly, is mostly used for combos. As you can see here, they kind of get popped up. You know, I could I do a 5K, kind of like floats them up. They're kind of like drifting in the air a little bit. As you can see, if I press 5K, you know, they don't do that. But if I do 5K RC, they do a little drift up. And this also gets affected by drift RC. Just like how the purple RC and the blue RC, whenever you drifted, the bubble came with you. The same thing works with red RC. So I'm going to do 5K drift up. As you can see, he goes up with me. And I do 5K drift forward. He goes there. And this is also pretty good with fast cancel. So I'm going to do did you see I didn't use all my meter there. I only did 40% of my meter. So let's kind of get started on how to use this. Well, for instance, it's really good with combos, right? You are going to use this a lot for comboing. This is probably one of the main ways you are going to use this. So let's say you do a Daru midstream, right? You get 36 damage. Let's say you react. Oopsie. You react and you do a RC, red RC. Boom. Right? You get 184 damage compared to just 36. It's pretty good with like Far Slash, right? Far Slash Daru, right? 61 damage. You get this move a lot. You get Far Slash a lot, and you could hit confirm it with Daru. We talked about hit confirms in the last video. So you do Daru, and then you get PRC, or you get red RC. Then you get yourself a nice little combo. You know, 188 damage, pretty good. You could mix this in with fast RC. You're gonna kind of have to know which RCs, when you do have to use normal RC, when you do want to use fast RC. Again, if you're not comfortable using fast RC, it's only like 10% meter you're saving, but in the long run, it might save you a lot. And we're gonna talk about how to use RCs in a more advanced way in another video, and I'll kind of go over how important saving that little bit of meter is. So for right now, just use it pretty sparingly. If you want to use fast RC, you can, but just use, for example, it looks like this. As you can see, I didn't use all my meter, and I still got the combo. I still got basically the same combo. I kind of missed a button there, but just in general, I got the same combo. So it's pretty good in general for combos. Like, you know, let's say you get 2K 2D Daru. This is kind of what you normally get off 2K 2D, 66 damage. But let's say I press red RC. You know, I'm able to do. Let's see how much more damage. That was only 149, but I know we can get more. So let's do 161 damage off just 2K 2D Daru, which 66 damage before, so almost like 100 damage more. So let's say you want to end the game, you're like, oh, I could just extend this combo, you know, just use RC. There's bad ways to use RC like this, right? Sometimes, let's say you don't need the damage, right? They're 40%. Using RC like, you know, using like RC like this is pretty bad, right? Because you're like, why'd I even use RC for like 92 more damage? It's probably just better to do like, to kind of leave them and get pressure afterwards, right? We kind of talked about in the last video, you know, it's probably a lot better to just do this. It's a lot better to just do this than waste 50 meter to get like, you know, 20 more damage or something, you know, 92 more damage or something. I'm sorry, I keep messing up. Like you do 66 damage, you know, 100 damage, you're just like, 40 damage isn't worth 50 meter. Obviously, if it's going to get a kill, it's fine. But if it's not going to get a kill, what's like a better use of meter in that situation is like, oh, if you're using meter, you either want to, you know, kill them or break the wall. So like, you know, you do this, and let's say you could go under them. That's pretty good. Boom. Instead of doing like 92 damage, I'm doing 155, and I'm getting positive bonus because I broke the wall. But just in general, like if you can't break the wall or the damage isn't going to be that significant, I would not use red RC too much. There's pretty bad ways to use it. It's kind of wasteful. You could use it to side swap the character in combos. You know, if you want to go this way. Obviously that was purple RC, but you could use PRC or red RC. And then just in general, like since they are floating and they are slowed down, oopsie, as they are floating and slowed down, you could kind of like bring the character with you. You could kind of like bring the character with you to kind of like get them closer to the corner. But just in general, it's really good for like moves that you wouldn't get combos off of. Let's say I'm using Rekka, right? I'm only doing 59 damage on Rekka there. Boom, I do. Oopsie, I was too close to the... I wasn't close enough to the wall. 59 damage. Instead, I get close to the wall. Boom. I'm doing like 174 damage. And I'm pretty sure that's not even an optimal combo, so you can make it even do more damage. And also, we talk about PRCOS, right? So let's say PRC, and then you whiff your grab and you do PRC to make yourself safe. Well, you could do RC grab, where you're able to actually combo off your grab, which is super good. You know, grab, which normally does, what, 82 damage, you have made it do 180 damage or 150 damage, which is pretty good for ending rounds. And just in general, if you just want positive bonus to give yourself more meter, it's really good. What's another way you could use RC, right? You could use it as like a skip neutral tool. I'll kind of show you on RAM how to do that. So you've all done this, where you get gold burst and you're on the other side of the screen. A lot of RAM players will do this. So let's have Happy Chaos. Let's have him block, right? You're on the other side of the screen. You are like, oh, I need to get in. What do I do? Well, you could do 214H and do like a drift in. So, right? So you covered so much screen distance. And now you're in, right? Now it's your turn again, and you got to keep going. It's basically just like a skip neutral tool. You're just like, I want to get in. What do I do? It's kind of similar to what we did with this, but like, you know, it's more effective. It's kind of more effective because if you do get a hit, let's say you do get a hit on him, you get a combo. And it's a pretty big combo. Let's say he's closer to the corner over here, and I do it. You know, I get 245 damage for just skipping neutral, and he just accidentally got hit by it. It's also really good in extending, because I do this a lot. I use this as an anti-air move. You know, I'm just like, he's going to try anti-airing me. I'm going to use this, and sometimes they get clipped by it. It has extremely good range. You know, I'm like over here, right? And I could hit people with it. Over here, I could hit people with it. Well, if I use Drift RC, as you could see, if I use Drift RC, I knock him up with it. So, you know, let's say he's closer to the corner or something. Let's say he's over here, right? And I hit him with this. I could RC forward, and I get a whole combo. Right? Off an anti-air, I get 231 damage, which is super good. So just in general, like, RC is really good. It's really good on block, too. So it's really good, especially with RAM, because of Rekka, right? As everyone knows, Rekka 2 is punishable, and Rekka 3 is super punishable, right? So let's say you Rekka 3 someone, boom, you could RC in, drag them closer to the corner, and then kind of keep doing more stagger pressure. Super good to have, especially the RAM, right? Since you're kind of like using all that time, you want to get them to the wall, right? Because that's your win condition. Having red RC is super good for that. In general, though, it causes like a mental stack mix-up, because most people think, you know, when you do Rekka 2, you're going to cancel it to sword throws, so they might try punishing it. But, you know, if you have meter, you know, you're going to be like, oh, I'm doing Rekka 3. And then maybe they get hit by it, and then you get a full combo if they get hit by Rekka 3. In general, though, like, you know, it just allows for a bigger mind game on pressure with RAM. You know, you could do some stuff like this where you just keep going. Your goal with RAM is to get them in the corner, so having this RC tool to get them closer to the corner is really good. Again, like, if you're not going to get them closer to the corner, there's no need to do this. You're just wasting a lot of meter. It's not good. It cranks the risk, but like chances you do anything with 100 meter usage is pretty bad. It's pretty good defensively too. You know, let's say you do super and you do RC, you're just like, let me get the fuck out of here, right? Or let me get the heck out of here. You know, you're just like, it's 100 meter, but it's pretty good, right? Let's say you're about to lose the round and you're just like, I'm gonna super, if it hits, whatever. If it doesn't hit, I'm just gonna RC and it's my turn again, right? You just super, you're plus, it's your turn, you gotta play the game again. So in general, red RC is probably the best one. It's probably the most useful one. It's the one that everyone's going to use. You could use it offensively, you could use it for combos, and you could use it defensively. So this is my favorite one. This is everyone's favorite one. In general, you know, yellow RC is probably the best defensive one, obviously. It's kind of just a get off me tool. Blue RC is the hardest one to use if you want if you want a complicated way to use it. I have a video on how to do BRC overhead, but just in general, it's really good for whiff punishing. It's good for like just, you know, like I want to get in, right? You know, just drift RC forward. It's probably the one you use drift RC the most for. PRC is just kind of a good, like, oh, I whiffed this button, like, oh, I need help, right? PRC out of it. It's PRC, grab PRC is one of the best things you could do in the game. You're going to want to grab a lot in this game, especially with Ram, right? Because she's a strike throw character. If you grab RC, right? Perfect, right? You kind of like make yourself safe if you're wrong on the grab, if they jump it or backdash it or something like that. And it's just a good skip neutral tool, right? You could do sword throw. You do sword throw PRC. You could throw 2 swords at once if you want. You know, oopsie, I keep doing that wrong. You could do stuff like that. And then red RC is the one everyone uses. Good for combo extensions, good for defensive options, and good for block strings. So thanks for watching. This is kind of a lot of information. I just kind of want to pack it all into one. This is a pretty like base level way to use RCs on RAM. There's obviously a lot more stuff. We're kind of maybe going over those in future videos where we talk about more complex ways to use RCs. But for now, that's it. Thanks for coming. You know, like and subscribe and give any tips in the comments. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.